Hey everybody, this is Jake here. I'm standing in my new equipment shed that I started at about the first or second week of August. Over the years, I've acquired a number of different pieces of equipment, from brush hogs to sprayers. I've got some no-till drills behind me, some cultipackers, and I'm just tired of leaving them out in the weather. So did some design work, ordered some material, and started working on putting this shed together. Through that process, I started feeling, in the beginning, it was like indigestion up in this part of my chest. And I just felt like I had to burp all the time. And I'd burp 3-4 times over a 3 to 5 minute time period, and I'd feel better. I wouldn't feel the pressure of feeling like you had indigestion. So I'd go on about my day, do my routine. Some days I'd never feel it again. Other days it might come back 3-4 times, but it was random. So as I started doing more physical work, lifting up the headers and putting the big post in, then I started feeling kind of a tightness up in here, and every once in a while just a small little twinge right about here. And I'd take a break, I'd give it a couple days off, and I'd come back and I'd work. And I'll tell you, I had a couple of days out here when it was hot and I was drinking a lot of water, and anytime I started working hard, I started feeling this tightness, and I would just all of a sudden feel like I couldn't work. And so I went in the house and I told my wife and I said, you know what? I think we need to go to the emergency room. She was rather shocked, but this video that follows kind of goes through what I went through. So hope you enjoy it, and I hope you learn a couple of things. Oh, and I almost forgot. Go Trump!
I'd acquired enough implements that I decided to build an equipment shed. It would be nice to keep my no-till drills, brush hog, and other implements out of the weather. I made a quick set of drawings and ordered my materials. I hired a local contractor to drill the holes for the support post, and I was off to the races, as they said. Then came the more physical part in moving the heavy pressure-treated posts around, positioning them, attaching and leveling the 2x8 pressure-treated header material, and screwing them into place. I even had a cicada give me a visit. While I was building the shed, I started having what felt like indigestion and minor pressure in my upper chest that would come and go. As the days went by, the symptoms continued and my upper chest pain increased with the more physical activity I did. So I walked in the house and told my bride, we need to go to the emergency room. We arrived fairly early the morning of August 23rd. The staff got right to work on me, and they were taking my symptoms very seriously. My blood pressure was 186/99, and they got an IV drip or heparin blood thinner going into me right away. A number of tests and blood samples were taken, and it sure seemed like I was a popular guy in that section of the ER. They kept me overnight to monitor my heart and record all my coronary functions. I was released by early evening and sent home with a list of prescriptions that I needed to pick up immediately at my pharmacy. Metoprolol, being a beta blocker, was one that they insisted I stay on without hesitation. I kept track of my blood pressure readings twice a day, and they were much better. It took around 10 days to get me into the cardiac center to have my nuclear stress test. I was a bit worried about it, but I did well and maintained 130 heart rate for several minutes on the treadmill. I found this entire health situation I was in very interesting to be going through. I got a call later in the afternoon from the cardiac center. They've discovered abnormalities in my stress test EKG and are scheduling a heart catheter procedure on September 12th. My lovely bride was not too thrilled about getting up early and driving an hour to Toledo, but she was a real trooper and supported me through all of this like a champ. We arrived at the hospital just as daybreak was cracking for registration and admittance at the emergency entrance by 6:50 a.m. They were ready for me and took me to the cardiac wing and quickly got me into a bed with nothing but a gown on and started an IV to relax me a bit before I go into the OR. It was a bit surreal, As the cardiac staff were all busy prepping me, my nurse was explaining everything that was going to happen and had a short meeting with the cardiologist that was going to perform the heart cath procedure. A swarm of 3 to 4 females from the OR came up to my bed, introduced themselves to me, and then wheeled me on my bed through the double doors, down a hallway, and into the OR. They transferred me onto a cold stainless steel table, and then with incredible precision the team got to work restraining my right wrist and asking me all kinds of questions. I was awake and alert during the entire procedure. With a large screen monitor I could watch in real time and see what the cardiologist was doing. The only time I could feel anything was when they used the balloon to open up my artery to install the stents. The procedure starts out as an exploratory adventure to identify the angina I was experiencing along with the EKG abnormalities. They found 2 major blockages in my left coronary artery, and then they used their expertise to get my blood flowing to my heart as it should. It was interesting to hear the cardiologist asking for particular size stents as I watched him work his magic with the catheter. All the while his team was talking with me and making sure I was doing okay. It only took about a half an hour and I was wheeled back to the prep room, and my nurse went over all the precautions and my potential risk, explaining that if all goes to plan I should be discharged in 4 to 5 hours. My post-op nurse was very adamant about me being careful with the incision in my right wrist where the heart catheter was inserted, and not to lift any more than 3 to 5 pounds with that arm the next week. The bruising was to be expected with the blood thinners I now was taking. 10 days after my procedure, my youngest son Jared came over and helped me put the steel siding on the shed. It sure felt great to work again without any weird chest pains. I've had many ask me, how did this happen? You're healthy, you keep your weight down, you eat well, you're very active, you walk 5 to 7 miles a day with your habitat business 6 to 8 months a year, and never sit still when you're home on your farm. Well, I wish I knew the answer to that question. One of the cardiologists I met with was completely shocked after the procedure, as he felt whatever they find with the heart catheter, it would be minor. I'm just a perfect example that you just never know. I thought I was doing everything right. I never had any kinds of symptoms, and what symptoms I had reminded me more of indigestion than any kind of heart issues. So this is my message to any of you guys 50 and older. If you're starting to feel just the slightest weird things, take a tip from me and get a complete heart workup. It's amazing how close I came to not being here. A 99% blockage on the left coronary artery is what they call the widowmaker. I thank the Lord for giving me another opportunity to chase my passions and my dreams. He brought me another successful hunt here on my small slice of heaven. And remember, good luck and good habitat.